Hello everyone, my name is Scalti, and welcome back to our Satisfactory Let's Play. Last we left off, we did some troubleshooting of the heavy modular frame factory, found out that I just failed to disconnect several belts, or I also learned the notion of you can't max out, or you have to be careful with maxing out a belt when you go in for a 1 to 5 or a 1 to 7 split, and just ended up finding several other small little issues along the way, and then also realizing one of the bigger issues is you got to make sure that you set your recipes correctly. This was silly. But after all of that, we got everything sorted out and we hit 100% efficiency on all of our manufacturers, creating heavy modular frames. Case closed. Now what's left to do is design the exterior, which is what we'll be going over in this video. And I'm going to try something a little different. I don't think I need to show you all the 2 hours of raw footage I have of experimentation. So I'm going to do what I can to cut that down and possibly see about doing that again for future videos. But yeah, I don't think 2 hours for exterior design work is necessary. So with all of that, I hope you enjoy. Yeah, I gotta admit, Lumen's pretty great with its soft lighting that it adds. But bam! Current work in progress. Actually, I can probably clear my to-do list, huh? I just get rid of that because our to-do list is done. Yeah, so this is where I'm currently at with things. I know it probably at the moment looks very similar to what we've seen before. However, there is going to be a unique element to it. I was doing some research on brutalist architecture, and I think that's probably going to be the way to go, or at least take inspiration from the form of brutalist architecture. Brutalism incorporates a lot of concrete, and to be fair, the visual simplicity of the concrete in the game is really nice, so that also works as well. I'm not sure if we're going to keep the concrete. It kind of depends on how flat this looks after I'm done, but we can kind of see that we have some depth to our structure here, and we're following consistent kind of rules so far between floors. So we have our double high wall, single wall, double high wall, and that was our consistent gap between floors. It does accommodate the manufacturer that we have up there. I wanted to kind of get the base done so that way I can properly visualize against this as to what I want to do with it. I took a screenshot of this and I made, I remember, do this. I made this screenshot, or I took a screenshot, took it into Photoshop, and then I modified it to kind of help create the silhouette, the form that I want to utilize. So this is what I'm going to be looking to achieve. The concern that I'm feeling is creating the curves and how we're going to be able to do that with the angular walls, or if I just simply need to be angular with it rather than trying to ease into a curve using like the 1, 2, 4, 8 meter ramp walls or angled walls, whatever they're called. So that's going to be the challenge. Right now, the way we have this set up is I added on one additional foundation of distance on the exterior here. Oh, the reflection in the glass is really slick. I like that. That's pretty cool. So the other thing that's kind of weird is like, how is all the shading done here? It's kind of interesting behavior. So yeah, we have the one margin, or we have a padding of one foundation. The red portion that was in that screenshot is going to be a full foundation of thickness. We're actually going to have it come out and be recessed, or make the glass recessed against that foundation. And I'm not worried about lighting on the interior yet. You know, we're probably going to use signs, given the fact that we are utilizing or taking benefit or advantage of lumen, which is pretty exciting as mentioned prior. So I just need to kind of experiment with how we're going to do the curves. That's going to be a lot of alt tabbing between this and the screenshot. I wish there was a way, I really wish you could import images as signs. That would be really slick, including the emission. I don't know if the emission function would work on that, if it would be able to take the emission of the texture, or if there's a separate emission setting in the material. With my limited familiarity with Blender and materials and stuff like that, I would like to think you could, because like I made a mock-up for something. It was like an advertisement on a digital display that I created, and you can apply the image texture as an emission, and you actually get the colors of the texture being emitted as the actual light color. So anyway, I digress. I'm going to kind of experiment. Actually, I think I'm going to fill in some of the gaps with the solid first, and then we'll approach. Also, I need to we need to bring the roof up a little bit. We need to bring it up 4 + 1 meters based on that screenshot. So just wanted to open up with kind of where we're at, where I'm looking at taking this, and we'll see how it goes. And then we'll figure out the train station afterward. I don't even know if we'll do the train station, to be fair, or at least do the train station under it. We might do it on the side, or we have this protrusion sticking out over here. I wonder if maybe incorporating the train on this end might be possible. We'll see. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I want to get the core exterior complete first. Alright, so here we have the first iteration of what I put together. We can see that it kind of loosely follows the screenshot for the most part, but it looks a little funky. The curve doesn't feel like the actual wall component. It doesn't have an even thickness to it. It just looks a little dopey, would probably be the way to put it. One of the other things that I was considering was utilizing this open space here as an actual walkway around the factory. But ultimately, I knew I needed to kind of revise that whole curve situation, and I was also contemplating, you know, maybe we do fill this in because it felt like there wasn't a lot of perceived visual depth with this one foundation, you know, padding or margin around the structure. So opted to kind of take a look and see what it looked like when it was filled in and whatnot, with very little clipping, but it was kind of necessary to kind of enable a more smooth and appropriate curve, and kind of how the foundations balanced out between floors to go from this floor up to the next one overall. So here we can kind of see with it filled in, we can kind of see that depth to it, because there's actually something to look on that perspective, on the actual depth perspective, if you will. The only thing that I wasn't really feeling about this solution is due to the inconsistent texturing, and how the only 8 meter high or 45-degree angle unit was the actual wall, and there was no way to really make a nice consistent transition between foundations that go up to the 4 meter height and then into the 8 meter 45-degree material. And then here we're looking at trying to revise the curve and kind of make it slope, instead of coming down at a 45-degree angle into the base floor, utilizing, you know, the inverse essential slope to kind of get that curve. But we can see here that it's just an immediate, very abrupt kind of jump. It doesn't really feel that great. It doesn't feel smooth pretty much in any way. And I definitely knew that this wasn't going to be an option. So a little bit of a jump here. I ended up getting caught up just in the process of designing everything out, and I got carried away with some excitement and inspiration that I found on how to kind of resolve this whole situation. So gonna do a little bit of a reveal here that I botched, but it's a little humorous, so I'm gonna keep it in anyway. But one of the things I was kind of speaking to here initially was not sure what to do with the roof. The notion here was we're not really going to see it, so do we want to do too much with it outright? The kind of idea that I had is once we eventually get to utilizing drones, due to the low quantity per minute output of this factory, I feel like we might have an opportunity to put a drone port or two. I don't know how the throughput is on those things, based on travel time and stuff like that, but I saw it as an opportunity, so we're just going to leave it empty or as is for now and kind of run the product through the factory here like I just kind of swooped. But here's a little bit of a reveal of kind of where the current state is. I botched it, like I said, but it's funny just because, it's a little bit of a blooper, if you will. But yeah, so I hope you like it. And while I was getting it all set up, I was kind of fudging with what is the best time of day to do it with global illumination on, trying to find the darkest point. All right, we'll go with that. Turn on global illumination. Here it is. Oh no, I forgot to put the lights down on the bottom. Sheesh. In other news, I ended up have been working on the factory for so long that I actually ended up getting enough heavy modular frames produced to fill a small storage container, which is both good because lots of heavy modular frames, but also bad just because of the amount of time I've been spending on this. But besides that, next up we're gonna have a nice reveal of most of the effort put into this so far. It's not too much of a departure from what we've seen so far, so let's just take a look. Ta-da! Yeah, so I thought this came out really good here. We're not using the 45-degree walls, the 8-meter tilted walls or angled walls. The slightly less grade or the lower grade slopes, I think kind of play into the elongated width of this factory, or length, depending on how you look at it. I would say technically the length. But the lighting on the outside came out great. The lumen effect on the interior is not working. But a couple panels of glass missing here and there, but this long little curve essentially going from bottom to top I thought came out really well. And you can see that we have that, the less angular slope there for the curve from what we originally had. But here I'm kind of talking essentially about there's no real navigability for this factory quite yet. It's just all essentially just solid foundations on the exterior. So here we're taking a look at, instead of doing those solid foundations, actually utilizing walls on the exterior, and that would allow us to create a hollow cavity essentially where all these foundations are, and give us an opportunity to go from floor to floor, kind of following this slope structure up the side of the factory. And one option I was kind of considering here was, let's just use the outside to explore, and it kind of worked, but I kind of didn't at the same time. One kind of thought that I had was like, navigating the factory on its exterior outside of egregious clipping here. Like we're in like the desert biome. Like what if there's a sandstorm? You're gonna walk outside, go up to the next floor, and like get pelted with sand. That's probably gonna like eat you up, damage your suit, etc., etc. I know there's no actual sandstorms, so it's just a somewhat silly thought, but it is a thought that I had nonetheless. So. Yeah, just an option I was kind of exploring for a little bit, and ultimately just decided to opt out. So after some pretty considerable effort, we have the exterior side here resolved, and one thing I chose to do is this tar roofing, just to kind of get some consistency in how I was going to be kind of stylized and exploring with it. But think it came up pretty good, but we're going to head inside and kind of take a tour of what we got going on. And we can see here, I did not kind of talk through or show some of the interior progress, like the lighting system here. It came out really great and revised the interior, so instead of having all those glass panels in most locations, we now have standard walls, just because we wanted that, like I said, that hollow cavity on the inside, and trying to do what I could here to resolve a lot of clipping by using 4-meter ramp walls and then inverted ramp walls, etc., etc. So which is kind of like what we have here to kind of try and follow that slope upward. Some necessary evil with the glass walls clipping, just to ensure that there's full closure essentially through the entire factory. But yeah, a little goofy in some places, but here's the result. It turned out really good. And let's check it out. So we have a sign indicating level 3 production. That's where we're actually producing stuff. Got our lighting system, and we have this. So we raised up the screw line here. That was coming through to give us access to this space. Keep heading down, and this is just hollow underneath. I initially tried to place these signs down below here and have the light bounce off the concrete walls, but this portion, the actual walkway, was super dark, so it didn't bounce as much as I was expecting or hoping. So we put the lights up above. Come down, we got level 2 production. The one, I guess, small little thing that I need to address is when you get into the logistics floors, I don't have a way to access the top floor of the logistic layer, sandwich floor. So why don't I call it that? Level 2. Sandwich layer. Why am I not embracing the name I've given things? Silly me. Anyway, alright, let's continue. The one thing I did consider, I'll take a look at it. I don't know if it would necessarily be faster than me running, but we do technically have room for a hypertube system to go up and down. I'm just curious how it would function at the stop points, just because this platform from here to here is so small. If once you got out of the sand or out of the hypertube, if it would just plop you into the next one. So I'd have to kind of explore some design limitations and options and stuff like that, which I still might do. Got level 1 production. Thought I fixed this. Oh, there's no way to fix this. So I'll also need to look at how to... oh well. So you can kind of see some of the fighting here with the ramp walls. Necessary evil, but very limited, and to be fair, we're not going to be spending a significant amount of time inside of this building, so I think it isn't all that bad. I wonder how to do this, because that's pretty bad, and we have to come through this door. Like I can't move the ramp further that way or further that way based on how things align, especially with this roof here, and we'll see this in a second. So I'll look into some solutions there. Level 1 logistics comes sandwich layer. And the sign's only one-sided because we're not accessing floor from this side. Same thing with the level 3 production up top. These are still pretty dark. I haven't really focused on any lighting, but we did wall off the walk space in all of these areas. So back here, we kind of saw that already, so. But we did make it walkable. We still have our glass. Overall, The one kind of fun part is that I put in this door here, so we can now access the outside of the structure if we wanted to. So after getting that whole side complete and whatnot resolved, I started to kind of mess with, all right, let's fill in the other walls and kind of get this all sorted out. Ultimately, it got a little we'll call it distracting, if you will, or just a little challenging to want to complete this just due to the amount of time that I had dedicated so far on just the one half. So started to kind of, build it out and fill it out and whatnot, but didn't really get there. And so just to kind of show, like, I've started doing it and whatnot, I wanted to include this. But the next kind of big priority is to kind of fill out or figure out kind of what to do with the very bottom of the factory, because as I mentioned, it's really flat and really plain looking. So let's go ahead and see where that went. So when it comes to trying to figure out how to orient the train station that we have going on down below initially, this structure here, I ultimately was like, this is in the way. This isn't going to work, to try and work around it. To be fair, I probably could have made it work, but instead of going in that direction, I thought, oh, let's kind of cut this open. Let's do a nice slope, kind of matching the curves that we had up above, and see what we can really do to kind of make this look pretty good and kind of match that same motif that we had going on up top overall, and kind of cutting through it, widening it out, and yeah. So then after kind of getting the general profile, the one side complete, going through and essentially just getting rid of everything that was down in the core middle, including the train station and all this excess that we have going on, and to try and get it in order to figure out how are we going to exactly cut through the building and create some type of path system that works. And one of the challenges of it was kind of figuring out, do I want to keep the train? If I do want to keep the train, how are we going to orientate the train stations and whatnot? Because I was having the kind of second thought of, do I really need a train station for a factory that's making 6 items per minute? And honestly, the answer is no. I really don't. And I really like where this ultimately went, and kind of contemplating, what do I do with this stone here? Because I can't get rid of it with an obelisk. So it was a little bit of a challenge to work around, but we'll see how I resolve that here in just a moment. So I did a little bit of backtracking on the kind of sloped intersection cut through, trying to use my default truck stop system that we have in the ASMR factory and the encased industrial beams factory as well. And I thought, a 45-degree angle in order to kind of come up here using those special foundations and then cutting through to where we have this path that can go through the factory neatly to the other side. This mound here, this little slope up, this is how I kind of resolved the stone that was in the way. But ultimately, the challenge that I was kind of facing is, as you can see here, the kind of clipping in order to get the 45-degree walls to line up nice and cleanly. And it just honestly looks bleh. It works, from a distance where you don't really see that fighting and whatnot. But when you get up close and whatnot, it just wasn't really feeling that great overall. And here, just kind of looking at the overall pathing structure through the base of the factory here, and kind of coming to the realization that I'm trying to force something to work that I don't think kind of really fits the bill, if you will. So as a way to kind of combat or, to kind of resolve the fact that I'm not really feeling it, I was like, all right, let's kind of pursue that first option that I was looking at doing. Let's build that slope in, but let's do it at a 45-degree angle to kind of match it all. This was definitely a tricky, I won't say tricky, but a tedious process, just because there's no real easy way to kind of snap foundations and having to toggle through several different heights and orientations of like the corner and getting that all to line up and whatnot was definitely a challenge. But as we'll see here in a moment, it came out so freaking good. It took a lot of effort, and, you know, it was all manually placed. There's no real way to blueprint this, if you will, or to zoop, or even use smart, for example. Well, I guess maybe there probably is a way I could probably have used smart now that I'm thinking about it. But like you can see here, like I'm just having such an issue with snapping the foundations as I need to. Oh man. But yeah. All right, so let's get to the let's get to the good part. Actually, I take that back. One little thing. So I did mention you can't get rid of it with an obelisk, and I just wanted to kind of incorporate, you know, the fact that I went through the MAM, got the Nautilus unlocked, got the remote detonator unlocked. I was just kind of taking a look at all the different things underneath the sulfur tree. So I just wanted to incorporate it to show you that, you know, some progress was made in that department and getting things prepped and ready to go. Just to kind of experiment and just to make sure that I couldn't get rid of that rock and have to kind of work around it. But okay, sorry, little tangent. Here's the result. All right, so to kind of introduce the result, I thought this would be a nice little way to do it. So yeah, we have our 45-degree archway. I think it came out pretty slick. You know, when I turn around here and look at the expanded view, it just the profile of it and how it affects the side of the building down here just really complements pretty much everything else that we have going on up above it. I wouldn't necessarily say it fits 100% with the styling, but I think it is a nice complementary solution, or solution adjacent to the overall style, you know, by still respecting the same type of curve slope structure that we have and whatnot, but the fact that it kind of cuts through at a 45-degree angle is a departure from everything else. But I think it works. And you know, here I'm gonna kind of just show the expanded view, which I think kind of helps reinforce, you know, kind of what I'm speaking to here. So yeah, it just breaks up that solid block of, you know, flatness that we had down below. It's also functional. You know, it does open up that pathing below, because this is definitely a pretty large structure with a sizable footprint. So, you know, it definitely has the height to accommodate a train if we wanted it to quickly pass through, not necessarily to stop at a train station. You know, and the one thing that I haven't figured out at this point was kind of how to incorporate, you know, the truck stop to do that. But you know, here I was kind of figuring out what can I do to add some lighting down here overall, because if I turn on global illumination, which I do prefer, just because the lighting is really nice, it is darker. It's not terrible. You know, the indirect lighting I think comes in really well. It definitely has that Arrakis vibes from Dune for sure, which I really enjoy. Part 2 was great, by the way. Go see it if you haven't. At least that now time dates this video. So yeah, I was kind of, you know, showing the process of experimenting with lighting down here, and ultimately opted out. Don't really need it overall. I think there's enough light down here to be functional just from the indirect lighting overall. But the one thing that I still definitely wanted to incorporate is the truck stop. So I'll go ahead and we'll just take a look at that and see what that process looks like. And I think it came out pretty good as well. You know, something I never saw actually before this moment was, you know, kind of how it looked on the inside, because a lot of this I built from the opposite side to make sure that all the angles lined up. But I thought this, you know, the internal structure here was kind of cool with the staggered staircase type structure here. But I thought, you know, the simplest way to kind of do it is take that same principle, the 45-degree truck stop, but angle it out and, you know, create a cutout essentially for the trucks to kind of roll through and get up onto a platform to then receive the product. And we have a lot of empty space down below here to just really kind of do whatever we wanted with the logistics, in all fairness. So just taking the time to, you know, align the truck station in a very similar manner as I've done in the other factories, but essentially just creating a 2 foundation with platform for the trucks to come up onto in order to access, you know, pick up and drop off, or specifically pick up. We're not dropping anything off here. So this here is 3 foundations wide at the moment. Ultimately decided, you know, the truck pathing, the tractor pathing, I guess if we're being technical, you know, is pretty consistent. So I was able to kind of slim it down a little bit, but, you know, the same treatment that we have here with the walls, the 8-meter ramp walls and whatnot, you know, very typical of what the other factories did in kind of creating that structure overall. I think it came out pretty nice, especially building it into essentially at a 45-degree angle into an inverted slope ceiling. And so we can see, you know, we have that kind of cutting in. There's definitely a little bit of clipping going on, but I think it's, I would say, dare I say, tasteful, or at least doing the best with what I got would probably be the better way to put it. But nothing here is too much of a departure from what we've done elsewhere in our other builds. But essentially, yeah, just kind of framing it out, making it look as clean as possible without any very extremely noticeable clipping, if you will, and just trying to keep it as practical and grounded as I could, if you will. And so just to put some finishing touches, you know, we trimmed it down to the 1 foundation width overall. Definitely want to get a little OSHA compliant, so we'll put some modern railings on the exterior edge here. You know, just to kind of clean it up a little bit, give it a little bit of extra little polish, which I think came out pretty well. And yeah, and so then, you know, just to kind of like test it out, it's like, all right, let's do an actual loop of what it would kind of look like, feel like, and make sure that, you know, it's something that I could see working in the future. Just don't drive fast, right? Yeah, I think the width of the arch and its slope and whatnot, and just the added space is a pretty large value gain, if you will, I would say, with how we opened it up down below the factory here, and being able to actually, you know, still incorporate some type of automated transportation for the product without having to use belting, I think is also really nice. And there's definitely still room in the future for drone ports up top. Once we get there, I think it'll be pretty exciting. Hopefully I can get there before 1.0 drops. If not, I don't know. Also, for what it's worth, and I'm going to just leave this in here as a little sneak peek if you're still watching the video, or for those who are still watching. I'm contemplating a restart when 1.0 drops. I know they said they're modifying, for the most part, late game recipes, but I do know that they might be modifying some early game recipes and whatnot, and I don't know exactly what happened with the truck here, but it was having a moment. So even though we're putting in all this effort now, there's a decent chance I'll probably have a 1.0 restart. But yeah, AI AI pathing here is struggling. So I was like, all right, let me get you on the path, a little bit of hand holding. Let's see if it'll kind of resolve itself, and it did, thankfully. All in all, I think this build was successful. It's not done yet. You know, I still don't have the other side of the building done. I don't get to that for a hot minute, just because I wanted to move on to other projects and not spend too much time on this. But I think in terms of the navigability and building it into that external component and having a ramp from bottom floor to top floor, and that diagonal archway down below I think was just a huge win, came out really good, and I think capitalizes nicely on global illumination as well. So but with that, you know, I think I was pretty successful in trimming down the content from 2 hours to, you know, a little over 30 minutes, and just really showing some of the key highlights, not going through the ridiculous minutia of the exploratory concepting phase of all of this, and I think just highlighted, you know, the correct moments, if you will. So this was the first time I've edited down content in this heavily, so I would appreciate, you know, leave a comment below and let me know what you thought of this. I definitely know it probably felt a little sporadic, and that's something I want to be more intentional about when it comes to future content, but that's not going to be for a handful of videos because I have a lot already recorded, just not edited. So with that, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to leave a like. It does help out the channel, and I will catch you all in the next one. Take care.